The Lucasfilm Story Group spin team is working extra overtime the last few weeks in order to distract from the fact that Solo has bombed in theaters. Their current course of action seems to be to deflect from the fact that Solo was so bad by saying that Kelly Marie Tran is a victim of internet harassment. Now, I've been the victim of internet harassment. You've probably been the victim of internet harassment. Now let me ask you a question. Would you delete your Facebook because someone put a negative comment on a picture you posted? No, you wouldn't. You'd say, fuck that guy, and get on with your life. It's just very convenient that Kelly Marie Tran would suspend her Instagram account in order to deflect and make news that isn't Solo bombing in the box office. This is the story group trying to spin the narrative in order to make Kelly Marie Tran a victim. Or, to put it succinctly, it seems like the Star Wars story group is playing the Wheel of Fortune of the news. Spin to win. Well, you haven't won. If anything, you've lost. Some people are calculating about $100 million. That's a big loss. So, Lucasfilm is doubling down. That was the biggest fear of all Star Wars fans. Lucasfilm is doubling down on their fan hatred. Hating fans, calling us man-babies, calling us people who dwell in our parents' basement. Well, I don't live in my parents' basement. I don't even live in my parents' house. I live in my own house. And if you want something to hold against me, I do record this in my own basement, but it's a basement that I pay for. So, yeah, you have that. But I'm still a man-baby because I love Star Wars, but I hate this new trilogy and the direction it's going, with a slight exception toward The Force Awakens, and I did like Rogue One. At least Lucasfilm can do something right 1 out of 4 times, maybe 2 out of 4 times. Maybe. That's a big fucking stretch. But the fact of the matter is that all of the blame from the filmmakers and the production company is pointed at you and me, the Star Wars fans, the fans of this franchise. We're to blame, just like I told you they would. They have no fault. They're perfect. Right? Well, if you disagree with them, you're the problem. And what was it that Obi-Wan said? Only a Sith deals in absolutes? Well, Star Wars fans, we must do what we must. And what we must do is boycott, if you want to call it that, or just outright refuse to see any bullshit that this production company wants to put out, any schlock that they want to sling in our lap and tell us, watch this or you're a man baby. And tell them, go fuck yourselves. You're not getting my money. If we can't overthrow this emperor and this empire from power, then we will starve them by not contributing our money to their coffers and to their pocketbooks. We will not give Disney the pleasure of a profit if they want to continue down this road. We will not do it. We mustn't do it. We sent a message with Solo, and their knee-jerk reaction was to blame us for being sexist, misogynistic, bigoted, and angry toward anyone who's a minority. Apparently, they didn't get the memo. It's not about the ethnicity, the skin color, or the gender, or the sexual orientation of these characters in these movies. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the most important thing in any movie: the story. The story is the biggest part of any movie. The story is the reason the movie is made. Their stories are lackluster and lazy. And when we say that we don't like it, I've never seen a company blame the customer for a shit job that they did. I work for a local car dealership in the service department. If I promise something to a customer or tell them we'll get to the bottom of it, and my technician botches the inspection or the repair, guess who gets a phone call? Guess who gets told they're wrong? Guess who gets blamed? Not the customer. If I were to blame the customer, I'd lose their business. And if I lose their business and do that with every customer that has a complaint against me, I'm going to watch my business basically crumble overnight. What happened to the customer is always right. Apparently, when you have as much money as Lucasfilm, you have fuck you money to tell the fans. And Disney seems to be completely okay with this. It appears Kathleen Kennedy is using her fuck you money against the very fans that she's trying to sell a product to. Trust me, I know what it's like. I work in service, and yes, everyone who works in a service, whether it be a restaurant as a waiter, whether it be in a dealership as a service advisor, whether it be a person at a retail store, yes, we all want to tell the customer to go fuck themselves when they get pompous and mighty. I understand what that feels like. But to do that costs you a customer and money. That's the name of the game, right? Are you telling me that Disney has gone socialistic and they want to be subsidized by the government to make schlock that everyone must eat, otherwise they're not a true fan? That doesn't sound like a free country to me where you can love certain things that are good. That sounds to me like North Korea where you must love it or you will be killed. Now that's an exaggeration. But that's what the progressive left wants us to have in this country, is a you must consume it, you must love it, or you're against us. It goes back to this nihilistic, absolutist, book-burning, hateful of ideals type of mentality, and hating anyone who does not share the same opinion as you. And Rian Johnson just continues to rub his asshole on the lips of the Star Wars fans and saying, I still got a job. I don't think that's true. I think that's the Lucasfilm Story Spin Group trying to tell us, oh, it's still happening. And Disney's going to have to start realizing that, oh my God, we are going to be losing a shit ton of money. We're going to pour so much money into this that we're going to have to stop making these movies. That's where I go back to the fact that I think that Kathleen Kennedy, in conjunction with Disney, either wants Star Wars to die or it's spinning out of control where Disney does not know what to do, because I do believe that Bob Iger is scared of Kathleen Kennedy. I believe that the original plan was for her to make at least 5 movies and then retire and then become the CEO of Disney. You make Kathleen Kennedy the CEO of Disney, and I guarantee you within 10 years, young boys that go to Disney World will not get admission. Anyone white will not get admission. It's not about equality anymore. It's about inequality. If you're a white guy or a white woman, you will be denied. Because this is just absolute chaos. Lucasfilm has become the very empire that they showed us in the original trilogy. They have become the evil. They have become the oblique. They have become the obsessive. Why the hell does Lucasfilm and Disney dwell and obsess over race, gender, and sexual orientation? I don't obsess over those things because those things are subjective on the person. And I don't care what a person likes. I don't care what a person's skin color is. I don't care what a person's gender is. Because that is only superficial. It's only the surface. It's the cover of the book. It's what's inside the book that matters. It's their story. And when you make the story about the cover, well, then you have a very shallow story, don't you? You have a story explaining and over-obsessing about the cover. It's not what's on the outside that counts. It's not about your skin color. It is not about your race. It is not about your sexual orientation. It is not about your gender. It is not about your social ideology, and it is not about your identity politics. Star Wars was once universal. Now it has become so quantified. Split down. It's like they took Star Wars and threw its soul into the Large Hadron Collider to try to break up its constituent parts and assign them into categories. That doesn't matter. What the fans like and what the fans love about Star Wars is that it fits in so many different social aspects. It doesn't matter what one particular group of people think about Star Wars. It has to deal with what does the whole of humanity or the whole of the fandom think and care and love about Star Wars. Kelly Marie Tran getting harassed, like I said before, I do not condone harassment online because I've been the victim of it. I've been subject to it. And many people on the internet have, because that's what the internet is good for. It's good for people to express an opinion, and they're free to have it. I do not deny someone for having an opinion, even if I disagree with it, because if I deny their right to have an opinion, if I deny their ability to have an opinion, then they can deny mine. It already seems they do deny my right to have an opinion, that I have no right. I have a right. You have no right. They have no rights. You can't say that because you shouldn't say that. That's mean. That's sexist. That's bigoted. That's homophobic. That's transphobic. That's Islamophobic. Blah, 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 blah. Just keep it's like there's a big wheel where you just spin the wheel and it lands on a word. Oh, you're Islamophobic. Oh, you're transphobic. Oh, you're homophobic. You know, it does not fucking matter. This shit, why do we fucking care so much about race, sex, religion, and sexual orientation and identity politics? Do you know who racists are? Do you want to know the easiest, most understandable definition of a racist? One who obsesses over race. You want to know the most basic definition of a sexist? Someone who over-obsesses about sex. I'm saying you're looking in the wrong place for these people. You think that a homophobe is a homophobe because they don't like that two men kiss in a Star Wars movie or in a television show? Personally, I could give a shit less if two men kiss. I don't want to show it to my kids because I do hope my kids have a family one day. I do hope my daughter marries a man. I hope my son finds a woman. But when they get to the point where they can make the decision, as an adult, as an 18-year-old or older person of contractual legal capacity, they will make that decision. And they will have to live with the consequences, and I will stand behind them and love them the same. This is not about transphobia, homophobia, racism, sexism. This is about pointing blame at people who aren't at fault. J.J. Abrams says I am sexist because I did not like The Last Jedi, even though I loved Rey in The Force Awakens, even though I loved Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia in the original trilogy, even though I loved Natalie Portman as Padme Amidala, Queen Amidala, whatever you want to call her, in the prequels. I liked her character. She was passionate, even though I think it should have been her trying to be more forward and seductive of Anakin rather than the other way around, because that would have made more sense. He would be fighting that urge to give in until she finally seduces him, and that opens his eyes and makes him go, well, this isn't so bad. And then Palpatine could just come sweeping in and say, it's not so bad to be to be on the dark side. And he would give in to it eventually. He would be seduced by the dark side the same way that Padme seduced him. Anyway, I'm digressing. It's not about the female. It's not about the black character. It's not about the Asian character. It's not about the Hispanic character. It's not about any of that shit. It's about the story. Lando Calrissian was a black character in a 1979 film, or a 1980 film, and people fucking ate him up. They loved him. Had nothing to do with race. If anything, it had to do with charisma and character development. Yes, he was a swindler. Yes, he betrayed his best friends, but at the end he learned a lesson. That the people who counted on him the most are his true friends. And he let them down. And he had a growing moment where he realized that he was dancing with the devil. He was dancing with the Empire. And he changed suit. And he turned away from that. Because they were, just like Lucasfilm is, trying to categorize people. Trying to separate people. Trying to divide people. That's what Lucasfilm is doing. That's what the Lucasfilm Story Group is trying to do. That's what Kathleen Kennedy is trying to do. And for God's sake, Disney, put a fucking end to it, or you will not get another penny from me on anything Star Wars. I did not want to hate The Last Jedi. I didn't. I watched the trailer and I was excited. I was like, wow, this is fucking weird. This is dark. They're going in places I'm not expecting. And they did. That's one thing they succeeded at. They went to a place I did not expect. They went somewhere I had no clue they were going to go. And it turned out to be at the very bottom of a porta potty. Kelly Marie Tran got harassed on social media. I'm sure she did. Even if that's not the real reason she deleted it, I'm sure it's true. I'm sure she was. Because since I've started making these videos, I've been harassed for having an opinion. even though it has nothing to do with race, sex, sexual orientation, or anything of that nature. Just remember one thing, Star Wars fans. If someone says you're a racist, and you know you're not, remember you're not the one obsessing over race. I'm fucking out.